Hey, this is Ash. Thanks for joining me for another episode of reviewing a funnel. Right here, I'm looking at an ad for Oren Klaff, investor. This is his landing page. I'm going to go through it step by step, but first, I just want to give you like an overview. It helps people invest money. Um, so let's go back to the Facebook ad and see what got us here. All right. It says private equity investors, how to win the game of money in 2025. Okay, so right there, he's already calling out his audience. This is for private equity investors. So how to win the game of money in 2025. That's a pretty basic headline. Based on what I was reading in the sales page, it probably could be stronger. Actually, it says right here, 4xorenclaff.com, because he talks about a 4x, a 400% return. So I don't know, what kind of maybe pushback you got from Facebook. But anyway, it's not horrible, but it probably could be better. Okay, what you must know about revenue curves before putting a single dollar into any PE deal, and the boxing technique that tells elite investors precisely when to get in and get out. Okay, what's interesting is like I said, I kind of skimmed through the landing page. None of this really relates to the landing page. I didn't hear anything about a boxing technique or revenue curves. So anyway, so watching this training, limited time, that's good. Um, Watch it, learn more. And then it says, or worse, you get caught flat-footed losing money on a hot tech startup. Yeah, I really like that. It's like it's one or the other. A lot of times people have like this the headline right here, the CTA, and then they have something that kind of supports it, almost repeating themselves, like saying the same thing. It's like, so this one will say, watch this training, limited time, and then it'll say, um, watch this training, and then some more benefits or whatever. But this one it says, you watch this training, or this bad thing's gonna happen. So it's either or, right? You watch this training, or you lose money on a hot tech startup. So I think that's really, really good. All right, so let's minimize that and take a look at what we got here on the landing page. Oh, we got this little thing. I didn't notice this earlier. It's tired of watching everyone else win. Yes, that's a common sentiment. I mean, I think people are not. I mean, they're not of the mind where they want everybody to lose, but when they see everybody winning and they're winning, seemingly easy, they want to win too. So yeah, people are tired of watching other people win. All right, it says if PE firms target 400% returns in 36 months or less, why should you be happy with 10% returns? Um, yeah, I mean, I guess it's an okay headline. It's I mean, I really, can't come up with something right away, but I think if something can be stronger, um, you're right. Why should you be happy with 10% returns? I mean, who is happy with 10%? All right, let me show you how you can beat them at their game. So now it seems like um, you're going after PE private equity firms. So talking to the average person, I guess you're going after private equity firms, right? So they're the ones who target that's their target, like 400% returns in 36 months. But you're a private investor, um, and you're probably making 10% returns, and he's telling you, why would you be happy with that? All right. Um, I like what he's saying. I think it could be a lot stronger, like more grabbing. Like it's like, yeah, you're right. I shouldn't be happy with that. But I would say, I mean, I guess it kind of gets into the copy. Okay, free live webinar training. So start the game, the winning game of money. Yeah, I find like that's kind of a little hackneyed. I think he may have written a book about that. Let me double check on that. Okay, so yeah, let's just take up the ad again. Okay, so um, yeah, he's got a couple of books, but none of them about the game of money. I feel like it's just kind of, a lot of people say that the game of money. Um, I don't know. guess I would make it a little more interesting. All right, how to find elite investments before others do. Um, I'm not really in this business, but I'm not really sure like elite investments. I mean, I don't know how common of a word that is, but anyway. Okay, even though you don't have a large fund to compete with, um, I understand what they're saying. I'm not really sure that's the right way to say it, but anyway, works if you're investing just 100K to 200K deal while targeting 4x returns in just 18 to 36 months. Hey, that's a really good promise. Like you put in, 100,000, you make 400%. What was that? Like 400,000 in 18 to 36 months. All right. Before you write another check, join this exclusive live training with Oren Clough and leverage his banker level insights for your next big win. Um, okay, I mean, so this is probably not going to be for your ordinary investor. I mean, I do some investing, basic investing, and so a lot of this is kind of over my head. I don't really know, but let's just take a look at this. Okay, so number one, so let's just look at the layout. He's got a photo of him speaking. It almost looks like it would be a video, but it's not. Okay, and then register now. He's got a pretty basic registration, which is nice. And then this is an actual webinar that starts January 22nd, 12 p.m. It seems like it could be a lot. Well, it doesn't say live. It just says starts, which is because today's I got January 16th, so that's like almost a week away. So it seems like it would be a specific live webinar since there's a specific date. And if that really is the case, probably should say live. Um, it says 9 p.m. specific, so that would be 9 a.m. Eastern. So that sounds like a time that somebody would do a live webinar because I want to get people on the East Coast at 9 o'clock in the morning. All right. Um, okay, it's an okay call to action. I would just love a little more reassurance that like this is really live and it's and then maybe when you get to the thank you page that you're gonna get maybe more instructions. All right, and since I got this popped up, let's just talk about it because I thought it was really interesting. It says we start the call on time. You should consider this to be a professional meeting with peers and colleagues. This should not be taken from your car or on a walk. And I love that because I've been on a lot of these kind of webinars, and people are tuning in on their cell phone. They're not even listening. They're in their car, or they're taking a walk, or they're in a busy coffee shop. And it's just like, you know what? I mean, I understand it's live, and that's probably the only time you could do it. It's not like a recorded thing, obviously, but it's like if you can't do it, you can't do it, and maybe wait for the next time. And maybe I don't know. Yeah, I would say I would say I would put something somewhere when he says if you can't make it this time, um, still sign up or something like to that effect. Um, yeah. I think that would work well because I mean, obviously, you don't want people to blow it off, but you still want you still want to get their name and email. So I would say even if you can't make it on this date, we'll send you other dates uh, for future broadcasts or whatever. And at least you get them on their email, and that's what you really want. That's the big deal is to get them on the email. I mean, obviously, you want them to get this information, but the most important part is to get them on your list. So I would say that because the specific date, someone goes, well, I'm already booked up. I can't come January 2nd, so I'm not going to. And not only that, but you could probably say it there. I would still say, you know, still register, even if I would say, even if this date doesn't work out, register anyway. We'll send you private correspondence about future dates. Boom. All right. So what you'll see in plain detail. Um, okay, the exact playbook I used to help a billionaire add 65 million to his portfolio. All right, I guess that's impressive, but I mean, if you're a billionaire, you probably have a couple billion, and if you invest, let's just say you invested a billion into the S&P 500, I think I looked it up. It has returns of um, over 10%. So let's see, what did this say? Um, so if you have you would have made a lot, you would have done a lot better than 65 million if you invested a billion into like the S&P 500. So I guess I mean I don't know. I mean I guess that's impressive. I don't know everything about this, so but I mean and also it'd be great if there was a time period. Um, if it matched what he was promising up here, 36 months, that would be great. All right. So what I learned to play playing the game on his dime. Okay. There's one thing in here I think he said I'm okay. I'm doing the exact same deals for myself, but I'll walk you through one of them on this web. I think that needs to be emphasized. Like people want to have a walkthrough, and they want to like they just don't want to go to some webinar and it's just a bunch of blah blah blah. And then by the way, I'm going to sell you a product at the end. I mean, people want to get real information. If they sense that you're just going to do a whitewash and then you're going to sell me a product at the end, they're probably not interested. But if they can get some real insight, like I'll walk you through one of these deals, then that needs to be you really need to kind of emphasize that. All right, the royal flush method I learned from Goldman Sachs to structure forex deals. Okay, that kind of grabs me. See, some of these things really need to kind of be a little fleshed out a bit. I mean, it's great to have them at bullet points, but just like this one just he needs like something else to really just hit it home. I mean, they're not shy about making these bullet points on a little on the long side, so I would kind of keep that up. How to position yourself as the banker, investing as little as 100 to 200K. All right, where you still have the power to set the price, define the terms, structure the water for it, and earn fees for it, all without needing a special license or having to Wall Street. Okay, so again, it's kind of confusing. Like, is this for your average person who has like a couple $100,000 that they want to make a good investment, or is this? I mean, I guess it's for people who are really into the private equity but they're not doing well. All right, this is not theoretical. I'm in the game of money every day. Both myself and my visitors are up 4x on paper in the last 12 to 14 months. Um, all right, makes sense. All right, the first $1 million turned into a deal now valued at $200 million. Okay, that sounds really impressive. Um, so this is just so we talked about okay, so um, a little bit what's going to be in the webinar, um, you know, call to action, a little more what's in the webinar, um, and then here's his credentials. Participated in 250 equity transactions. Um, Featured speaker at Google, Symantec, and Xerox, which matches up here because usually a lot of these logos is like, what's your involvement here? Like, I mean, a lot of times people put these things on there when they either wrote an article, which is impressive enough, but most of the time it's when they wrote or they advertised in there. So you're paying an Entrepreneur magazine, and then you get to say, "Well, it's an Entrepreneur magazine." Doesn't really count in my book, but anyway, it works on people. Best-selling author of Pitch Anything with over 1 million copies sold. Um, okay, sounds good. I have a big resume, but here's the truth. Deal making looks easy when you read about it in books, but there's a reason only banks succeed consistently. Um, and individual investors playing with 200 per deal are stuck playing using. Okay, okay. Um, these are pretty good credentials. I would. Um, I mean, that's just a quick overview. Okay. And here again, we got another call to action. Live training with Lauren Clough. How to take the banker's seat in your next big deal. What I like about this second call to action, it doesn't really repeat the same. blurb, doesn't repeat the same thing. So if that didn't, ring true with anybody, maybe this will, right? It's just like, well, let's try something else. Um, so I thought that was really good. You're probably frustrated. So now it comes into like, maybe the kind of the empathy copy, where like I understand where you're coming from, right? So you're probably frustrated reading about other people's big wins while your actual investments grow quite slowly. Um, I think that I would say you're probably tearing your hair out. You're probably tearing your hair out watching everybody get buying big yachts while you're bleeding money. Or, something like exciting. This is You're probably frustrated reading about other people's big wins while your actual investments are growing quite slowly. I mean, there's nothing exciting about it. It's just like you're probably yelling at the screen, trying to figure out some ding dong just bought a brand new $1 million yacht, but yet the all the advice that you've gotten is done nothing or something along that. I mean, make it like exciting. It's so it's just I'm probably invested. Probably. I think definitely. Of course, I'm frustrated. Why would I want to watch anybody else's big wins when my actual investments grow quite slowly? Um, all right. So our worst, you get caught flat-footed losing money on a hot tech startup. All right. I like this caught flat-footed because it goes back to this ad. It says right here, you get caught flat-footed losing money on a hot tech startup. So they're kind of repeating the same thing. So it kind of you hear it again. Um, I would probably um, like make this bold because what's going to happen is people are going to read this. I mean, some people read all of it, some people read some of it, some people it just kind of like, and maybe they just gloss over. They go, oh, or it's going to cop blah, 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 blah. And then they come to the page and they're going to be like, okay, and then they're going to stop at something they recognize. Now, granted, this is in small type, and I've put this highlight, you know. But really, you want to make it big, right? Like this is what you just read about. You just read about this. Now we're going to talk about it. Because people want to go with something that they recognize. Like they're like, oh, I recognize that, and I read that before. And they may not even go, oh, that was from the Facebook ad. They just go, oh, well, yeah, I get caught flat-footed losing money. I better read that because it sounds very familiar. So I would make this thing like a bigger deal than it is. Um, anyway, that promised you 100 expert returns, but delivered disappointment, even when the red flags were always there in plain sight. Okay. Um, I want to say I'm not in this business. I'm not a private equity person. I happen to have probably money that I could do some of these whatever deals, but I'm not a regular, so I'm not in that. I'd probably lose my money. But so I'm not really sure who they're. I mean, I guess they are looking for private equity, but I know a lot of people who are very successful in business and they probably have millions of dollars and they probably would want to invest a couple $100,000 and they would want to beat, the bank or beat the market or beat the street or whatever. But they also wouldn't understand any of this of what you're saying. So um, that's just my 2 cents. And so it's probably, like I said, they're probably just talking to people who are already familiar with this. All right, I've seen countless investors fall into these traps, chasing get rich crazy ideas in the latest tech. Um, yeah, I would say, I don't know, see some of these, there's a lot of things that people write and that copywriters write that are just kind of like there's not much of a visual or bland or there's not a reference to anything. So um, like Agora and those companies, those financial newsletters. I mean, they have a lot of like not stats, but quotes and references to real stuff. So what I would say here is like, you remember, the .com thing, and you remember the housing bubble, or do you remember, maybe something even more recently? Um, all right. Let's take a look at this. All right, getting back. Okay, so I'm looking at the boxing technique. So, but in the end, settling for flat returns in index funds and bonds. So, I mean, see, this is not really a bullet point because because you basically took a sentence and then chopped it up in two bullets. I mean, it's like chasing get rich crazy ideas in the latest tech, but in the end, settling for flat returns. And I mean, those aren't really like. I mean, I guess you could chop them into bullet. They're not powerful. You wanna. Here's the thing about bullet points, and they people who write these for books and things like that. And Dean Schwartz, well-known copywriter, called them fascinations, right? It's like, the blood-brain barrier vitamin, and then it would say page 36 of the book he's trying to sell, right? So in this case, you're a webinar, and just, like what talk about something and then reference it to, first of all, reference to like real data that people can go, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. I mean, not that nobody knows what you're talking about because people are familiar with this, but if you can reference some case studies, like I mean, there's so many of them. Like, oh my God, this pharmaceutical just tanked, and this thing went that tanked, and then some people may even invested in those. Something, and then also you want to reference how you're going to overcome those things in the webinar. And then in the webinar, this is what's going to happen. All right, so these are really just kind of, even though I don't really understand a lot of what he's talking about, I can tell you this, they're very kind of bland, and you can put these into somebody else's sales page, which is not a good thing. You want it to be uniquely yours. One of the things I did comment on, and it may be uniquely his, is talking about, the money game, or the game of money, as he puts it. All right, so let's continue on. Want to know the most shocking part? So, okay, so this is classic, sales page stuff. It's bad, and then it gets worse, and then it's even worse. The most shocking part. By the time, so this is very classic sales page, you know, format. By the time most deal investor, by the time most deals reach investors like you and I, the professional investors have already loaded them with huge fees and provisions that benefit themselves. Um, okay, that makes sense. If I took these deals to a real banker, they'd laugh me out of the room. I'll show you exactly why. Okay, the uncomfortable reality about elite investing. And then, okay. It's very unlikely you'll ever touch a unicorn deal. Okay, so this, I like this. This is very specific. Last year, 3,200 potential unicorns failed, burning through $27 billion in cash. Okay, so that's a real thing. You're referencing a real thing like this. It gets some numbers that this happened. All right, let's see. Let's just kind of skim over the rest of this. If you're trying to find the next deal, you won't. If you're stock picking for the next Tesla or Google, beware of the automated trading bots. They take all of your money with no regrets. Yeah, I guess this is the thing. This is part of like where I don't really understand this, because if I wasn't like just your rudimentary, um, yeah, I'm just going to. All right, so let's just take a look at that. All right, so I'm not going to really read through the whole thing. So he's got, talking about the reality of elite investing, and he's got this little, obviously AI generated kind of graphic here, which is kind of interesting. He's at a boardroom table. Um, I don't know what that on the table. Anyway, so last year, he's, more of his credentials, telling where he came from. I was making a billionaire, family wealthier, even when I could have done exact deals myself. Okay. Um, I was already up $40 million of people using the vaccine. Okay. All right, join. Okay, so again, he's got another call to action. Let me make sure I'm seeing this correctly. Yeah, he's got another, like, all his call to actions um really have a little kind of different headline, which I like because you're kind of, if it doesn't work, if that doesn't resonate with you, then maybe this one will. And so he's got another one. Join me for this live event and get backroom insights into how you can cut to the front of the line in your own Royal Flush deals. Um, backroom. I mean, I guess my only comment is that it's kind of assumed that if you're giving me this webinar, you're kind of giving me the backroom insights. But I like this, in your own Royal Flush deals. That sounds pretty cool. Like, obviously, Royal Flush in poker is like, the best hand you can have. So it's interesting. And then, and obviously he's got his own take on it. So I like a call to action. Like I said before, I would just, you know, make it more specific. All right. And then he's got himself and his family, and obviously it's in like a private, they're getting, it's a private airplane, so that's pretty cool. Um, so here he actually explains the Royal Flush approach to investing. So this is pretty cool. Um, yeah. Um, 30, okay, so you need to make moves that have a potential of $30,000, three extra entire. Well, okay, those are good bullets. Okay, here, I love this one. I love that. This is really good. It says, but Oren, I don't see myself as a banker type. I'm not sure I can land a deal. Um, I get it. See, and this is part of the reason why I think, well, maybe he's talking to maybe just ordinary people with money. I mean, if that's the case, I take it he's not, because if that was the case, and it says, I would have a completely different approach. Like if you get 200K burning in your pocket and you would like to have 200K burning a hole in your pocket, listen up, But he's really getting into kind of the technical banker speak. Um, and and so you really have to know, like, really the kind of all this stuff. Um, so it's not really for like an ordinary investor. Okay, instead we're using the same playbook that bankers and elite um, equity investors use to generate consistent high returns. Remember, in the game of money, here we go again. You don't try to find great deals. All right. Okay, you don't. Okay, so that's interesting. Okay, so it's got another, and it's just throwing out a button. I'll show you exactly how to do it. That's good. All right, so overall, I think it's not bad. I don't think you're gonna find a lot of people. I can tell you this: you're gonna find people who are already in this business, right? Who are already, and I think maybe that's the idea. You're not gonna find people who have money to invest, because you're not really talking to those people, because there's plenty of me people. Like I said, I know of these people, and there's plenty of people who have that kind of money, have 100, 200K that they could invest. They could do so. They would love to beat the market. They would love to beat the S&P 500. And they have that kind of money, but they don't know anything about what you're talking about. I mean, you're talking about some high level stuff, and and that's great, that's probably what it is. It's probably high level stuff, but if you're trying to get ordinary people, you got to speak to them in an ordinary way. And so, like elite investments and things like that, just says you're talking to people, and if people are already into this, um, and that's great, but they they're looking at you and maybe other people, and they have other options, other things. So um, that's my 2 cents. Like I said, I'm not really sure who you're really trying to target. Like I don't want to repeat myself, but it doesn't seem like it's going to the average maybe investor who has a lot of money to spend. Sounds like somebody who's already in in this private equity investing. And that's it. That's great. Um, and even then, it's the copy could be stronger, fleshed out a little bit. Um, and then and then um, in a lot of these pages, there's really in all these things like the webinar, there's always two things you need to do. You need to sell the concept of what you're doing, right? The end product. Like in this case, it's his type of investing. That's the first thing you need to kind of sell to people if they don't already know you. And then the second thing is the webinar. I mean, which is really the most important thing is selling them on the webinar. Like you got to be like you got to give them details. Like this says Wednesday, January, but how long is the webinar? Is it going to be 15 minutes, 20 minutes, a half an hour? Do I really want to do this? Why is it important that I get on this webinar? What's going to happen if I don't get on this webinar? It just really drive that home. Like if you miss this, you miss out on this webinar, forget about it. You didn't forget about 2025. Just kiss 2025 goodbye. Focus on 2026. You know, you really just got to drive it home, and then just I guess speak to what people are feeling. All right, that's it. Thanks for hanging out. Bye.